Here you have an aneurysm of the arch as well as the descending thoracic aorta. So what are the various options? You have to look at the blood vessel. Right brachiocephalic, left common carotid and left subclavian are the vessels which arises from the aneurysm now. What we are going to do is just replace this aneurysmal part, that is interpositional graft. That is the simplest of the surgery. You do a surgery and place a graft here. Okay, graft is being placed. It is anastomosed at the proximal end and the distal end, and the three vessels are also anastomosed to the graft, and the distal end is being anastomosed. It is an interpositional graft with head and neck vessels inserted as an island. That is a simple procedure. Now coming to one stage repair, where you do a large conduit. Okay, the conduit is replacing the entire thoracic aorta from the proximal to the distal end of aorta. You put a one conduit and you do the proximal anastomosis, you do the three vessel anastomosis and the distal anastomosis. This is the one stage repair with only surgery. Here you do only the surgery, proximal, distal and the vessels are anastomosed. Now coming to classical elephant trunk stage 1, you put the conduit and you put an elephant trunk. Okay, this is an elephant trunk stent graft where you have a free end. Now coming to stage 2, that elephant trunk, you do a surgical completion at the distal part, that is stage 2 cerebral tension, and you do a proximal anastomosis, and the classical elephant trunk stent remains in place. This is stage 2, and stage 2 is completed with the surgical graft at the distal end. Another important thing is in stage 2, you can do a stent completion. Instead of surgery, you can do a stent completion at the distal part, and this is called the free end classical elephant trunk surgery. There is a stent inserted in the distal part, and this is the distal landing zone. Then what is frozen stage 2 stent completion, where you extend the stent to the proximal part. This called the stented part of the frozen elephant trunk. There is a small unstented part and there is a distal landing zone. These are all the various options available for an aneurysm. So you do an interpositional graft with head and neck vessel inserted as an island, or you do a one stage repair, insert a large conduit, you have the proximal part, the vessel inserted and the distal anastomosis. And classical stage 1 is you put a prosthetic graft through surgery and insert an elephant trunk graft, and you have the proximal part and there is a distal free end. At the second stage, you do a surgery and suture the you suture the distal end of the elephant trunk, or you insert a stent at the distal end. This is stage 2, either with stent or with surgery. Or finally, you can have what is called the frozen elephant trunk, where you have the distal landing zone for the distal part, and there is a proximal anastomosis, and there is a small unstented part of the frozen elephant trunk. These are all the various procedures which is available for the arch aneurysm.